Rise and grind. It be hump day. It's been a minute. I know I said I was going to try and do these daily, but life's been a whirlwind, y'all. Your boy got married. Get that sweet, sweet tax money. Already had the kids. Already made the promise. Might as well cement it. Right? And that is what we're talking about today. Relationships. There's such like a fickle thing with relationships, and I've had my experience with quite a broad spectrum. I've had a very long term that didn't work out. I've had little flings, been invested in little flings that I didn't realize were little flings. And here I am now, a semi-mature adult with children and the certificate of marriage. Not much has changed. People want to say everything changes when you're married, and maybe if you marry young and you don't know what you're doing, everything changes because you're both irresponsible, and then you're trying to be responsible together, and it falls on the other person. But I don't know, it's a weird dynamic, because what happens when you first start dating somebody, hey, if you want to date outside your species, that's your thing. It's not right, in my opinion, but let's not go there. I don't want to offend anybody. The thing about it is, there's a physical attraction immediately, and that's usually what spurs on dating. And while physicality is nice, you get to admire a piece of art on the daily, or an aesthetically pleasing body, that's not made to last. And so really, it shouldn't be on the agenda, but as a species, it's so ingrained in us. I think deep down, like subconsciously, there's this primal motivation to have like better gene pool or whatever. You want your kids to be desirable. Even if you don't plan on having kids, I'm sure that that primal drive is deep within us, and we don't realize it. But like I said, that's not really made to last. I like mornings like this. It's like golden hour, but in the morning. Nice. Sorry, I'm trying not to get sidetracked. My mind was racing last night. A million thoughts. More than usual. I have like at least 3 or 4 thoughts. That's normal for me. Like, it's gotten to the point where like I need external stimulus to be focused on one thought, because my brain's just used to juggling. But that's besides the point. The physicality is not made to endure. Everybody's going to be saggy eventually. Some of us put on weight, some of us lose weight. The physical form changes, and there's no two ways about it. If you date someone because they have blonde hair, well, guess what? It's probably going to be gray or white by the time things are settled. And that's where I feel like it gets confusing, as we as a society hold too much importance on outward beauty and not inward. Like, when you first start dating people, it's usually like kind of small talk, like, what's your favorite color, what's your favorite number, what do you do for work, what are your goals, what's your past like, but those things are so trivial, because what somebody does for work at the time isn't going to necessarily dictate the rest of their life, their career. Goals are nice to talk about, but those can also change with time. Everything changes with time. So this kind of small talk, figuring people out, in my opinion, is kind of wasting time. Like, when I found my current partner, my wife, I actually had found her in a support group on the internet, and there was no intention of getting to know each other better, I don't think, but it just kind of naturally happened. And before I even knew what she looked like, I began to really like the mentality. What I feel is what she was as a person, and continues to be. We have our qualms with each other, and as we get more intimate and learn each other's nuances, some things become more difficult, some things become easier. It's the way relationships are. I gotta hit the recycling. I got cans rattling. They're distracting. Shh. Crap. I was supposed to put something in the truck, and I can't remember what it was before I left today. Anyhow, too late now. Sorry, I'm all over the place, like I said. I'm trying to focus here. Bear with me. Relationships. I've got solid advice underneath this scattered brain. So yeah, just get to know your person, or the person you're intrigued with, on the deepest level. Cut out the bullshit. Cut out the small talk. Get to the meat of who they are. How do you feel on a regular basis is a good question. What do you think your perception of what you put out to the world is? Does that conflict with other people's perceptions of you? Are you withdrawn? Are you extroverted? Are you, capable of empathy? You gotta weed them narcissists out real quick. They will send you through hell and back. Had my fair share of that too. I've had people straight up, like, within 10 seconds of conversation, flip what they've said, and let me just tell you, a huge red flag. If you aren't worth your word, then what are you worth, right? At the end of the day, if the whole basis of the relationship at some point is marriage, and you're making a promise to that person, you have to trust that person to keep the promise. And if you can't do that, time to go elsewhere. But, red flags, everybody, and that's the thing too, is a lot of times when people find each other, they're just, especially later in life, like 30s, 40s, they're just kind of so willing to be back into that kind of hopeless romantic relationship like they had in their teen years, that it's just not realistic, and it can be damaging. You want to believe the best in people for the most part. Either that or you're just completely cut off because you're jaded from bad experiences. So that's the fine kind of line that you walk, is how much of yourself do you bear? Because, there's that chance that you might get burned in the end. But also, if you're too cut off, you can't let anybody in. So, I would say in retrospect, I wish I had done more, is not blamed the other person when things didn't work out. Just have a more deeper understanding that it was a chance, right? Treat dates like trial periods, Really examine it and say, is this worth an investment? And if it's not, don't feel bad about it. A lot of people will stay in a relationship, and I did this because the other person wanted it, even though deep down you knew that it wasn't working, and you're still trying your hardest, and it's just, you're not compatible. So everybody wants to demonize their exes, but I think at the root of it, it's just, we try to change people and we can't. We try to make them fit the mold that we have in our mind of what a perfect partner is. And the whole time, it's just like not meant to be. So if there's one thing that everybody can take away from today, is stop demonizing your exes. Sure, some people are just actual shitty people, but I think overall it's just, there's either a lack of communication, the wrong kind of communication, or you guys just weren't made to be together. There also is there needs to be a willingness, like an actual drive to make it work. Again, fine line. There needs to be a drive to make it work, but to also know when you're forcing something that shouldn't be. So this is why love and relationships are so complicated, is because there's so many fine lines that we walk. I'm not going to be able to squeeze around you. Let's take that turn a little faster. People in their driving. Let's throw our blinker on last second, slam on our brakes, cause a commotion behind us. Anywho, so that's kind of where I stand on it. It's a very fickle thing. Excuse me while I vape. I know, bad habit, whatever. At least it's not smoking cigarettes, because those things stink. They stain your skin, and they're way worse than vaping. Not saying vaping's good, but it's better than what I was doing. It's also way more economic for me. So anyhow, relationships, they're fickle. My word of advice is, like I said, just treat your dating as a trial period. Don't get attached. Really do some examining. And I think if everybody could get on the same page of expectations, then things would be a lot better. There's people that dive headfirst into love. They're just so ready for a relationship in general that they don't really pay attention to who they're having the relationship with. I would say, don't be, walk that line. Don't be too withdrawn, but also leave some stuff for the imagination, Answer some deep questions. Get to really know a person and take your time. It's so wild to me because after I'll just tell you, I had a long-term relationship that started in high school before, I was sexually active, before, I really intensely made out with anybody. This was the first person that I did almost everything with. And, I kind of changed who I was to accommodate to them. And we were similar in the beginning. But then, it's very unrealistic to expect that both parties are going to remain the same people as teenagers into adulthood. So, maybe it was doomed from the start, but I definitely put too much work into it, and, for a lost cause. So, don't be so willing to love that you have to change who you are. And, she was the opposite end of that. She was completely closed off, and that was kind of the problem. And also through a lot of self-reflection, I realized that she kind of fit my bad habit of being a lone wolf. She was so withdrawn and focused on herself that I didn't have to be around. I didn't have to be an actual partner because she didn't really want that. And my lone wolf mentality kind of encouraged that, to not be so close with someone. I'm not gonna lie, we were close. Obviously, you don't spend like 15 years with somebody and not be close. But it really should have ended after like the first 7. And then it was just like, keeping promises towards the end that, we were sacrificing who each other wanted to be. And I'll be honest, at the time I did demonize her. She did a lot of shitty things, but that was her acting out because she couldn't express herself verbally. And now that I understand that, I am okay with it. Like, that's cool. You work on you. Like, no bad blood. That's what you need to do. Do it. So, yeah. I love. She's a fickle thing. I'm just kind of taking in the view right now. It looks pretty good. This lighting is nice. Like I said, it's like golden hour in the morning. Just like there's a hint of amber yellow poking through the trees. My first contract is on a mountain, so I get to have a nice view and be mindful of it. It's pretty sweet. Just allow me this moment while I speak to you. Shh. Take in what I've already said. Process it. So I got through A and B. I'm sorry if this is like, I feel like this is good for ADHD people because I'm sure I have adult ADHD. I didn't have it so much as a kid. I was, oddly enough, more patient as a child than as an adult. I don't know why, but here we are. So I feel like maybe I'm reaching out to a select group of people that can follow me, but with all the tangents, we still get the core. We circle back. So I said A, B, and there was one more point, which was C. So A was, getting to know people. B was not being so closed off or too open. And C, the other really important thing, and I kind of touched base on it, was demonizing your exes. You gotta let shit go, right? We're just people. We're having interactions. Sometimes the job that you apply for is not the career path that you want, but you don't know unless you try. And it's all just testing the waters. Yes, it sucks to invest into something that doesn't give a return, but if you don't take chances, you'll never get that solid return that you're looking for. So I think that's it. ABC. 1, 2, 3. Don't demonize your exes. We're working backwards now. Why am I counting with my pinky first? Nobody does that. Sometimes in like German and like Europe, they go with thumb first, and then like over here we go. Not me. I gotta be different. So working backwards. Don't demonize the exes. And that also helps you in relationships afterwards. If you're so hung up on what your ex did wrong, whether you realize it or not, it's purveying a poor image of yourself to the next person. B, what did we say? Oh yeah, don't be so closed off or too open. So just kind of have a thin veil. Don't have a plate of armor and a shield, because ain't nobody gonna get in through that. But also, don't be bare skin. Don't be just throwing your all right out the gate. You're just looking to get burned at that point. Dang. I gotta stop tying my fishing line with my bare hands. Can we just, for a minute, like... Oh my goodness. Oh, and like healing on the corner there. And like this is callous now because of pulling fishing line. I need to wear gloves when I pull them main to leader lines. Tell you what. But that's a different show. Fishing. If you want to see me fishing with my buddy James, go over to the other channel that I'm a part of. Good Morning Lads. Yeah, it's me. It's the same dude. That's what you gotta do these days, is diversify your portfolio. So, not in relationships though. It's kind of a one investment thing. Don't be doing dirt. It will catch up to you. As a person on the receiving end of dirt dealing, nothing will end anything quicker than, dating more than one person at once. It ain't cool. Nobody likes it. There's people that claim to enjoy open relationships, but that's not, in my opinion, an open relationship is not a real relationship. You are using your main as a crutch for other things in life, but still running around catching tail from everybody else. It's like, it's selfish. And if you're in a relationship like that and it works for you, your thing, cool. But at the root of it, both y'all are just really being selfish and not taking into account the other person's wants and needs. And if you're married in an open relationship, you ain't doing it right. When you get married, your vows, I choose you. Not I choose you when it's convenient for me on top of everybody else. Whew. Y'all, I don't even care if I lose views because of that. I'm gonna die on that hill. Tell you what. Be faithful. You know? Shit. Alright. I'm coming up on 25. I've gone over my promised format of 15 to 20. I'm sure if I was decent at editing and had time to edit, then we'd still be around 15 to 20, but 5 3/4 minutes extra. It's whatevs. Anyhow, that's love and my take on it. Relationships, whatever you want to call it. It's not really love until it is love. It starts as relationships. Excuses. Philosophy for the modern being.